Hello and welcome back to Wyvern Flames Epic Gaming. So today I am going to talk to you, or show you actually, some of the main story quest lines in Guild Wars 2. So I do apologize that I was unable to complete all of the different specializations that were in the World of Warcraft Legion Alpha before the Alpha went down for the holidays. I will continue doing those videos as soon as the Alpha is back up. Also, in case you didn't know, the YouTube channel is currently going through a name change. So as of right now, we are Gamers of Myth. But I'm not sure whether or not that's going to be the permanent name of the channel or if that is just our temporary name. I will let you know as soon as we sort that all out. So, Guild Wars 2, for those of you that don't know, is another MMO out there on the market. It's a buy-to-play MMO, so you buy the game, or actually I think the base game is now free, and you only need to buy the expansion Heart of Thorns, which recently came out. But basically, there's no subscription required, and there's a lot of different classes and different exploration types of things that play into the game. So one of the most interesting things I think about the game is it's got this really unique story journal setup. So basically it takes you through these different sets of the story, and the story is actively being updated. So I actually have missed a few things, so I'm going to show you a cutscene that sort of explains some of the story that I haven't played through myself that is no longer available, and then we get all the way up to sort of the end of that into the more modern Heart of Thorns story, which I have not. I have started a little bit of, but I wanted to go back to understand more about the characters and details that I am unfamiliar with. So before that, though, I wanted to talk about the interface a little bit, how the game plays, and some of the character customization types of things you can do in the game. So one of the cool things I like is that each individual weapon, so different types of weapons, so swords, pistols, great swords, all these other types of weapons, change the types of abilities that your character has access to. So I use a great sword and a staff, but there's all these other sorts of variations of offhand weapons or main hand weapons or two-hand weapons that you can use to customize how your character plays, and that's completely up to you. And then there's all these different specializations that give you all these different sorts of passives, and sometimes I think it even creates a new active part of an active ability that you have on your bar. And for those people like myself who are not that familiar with this system because it is rather new, it will sometimes give you, or it will give you the option to just um, basically just fill it all out for you and choose all the different abilities in this tree so that it helps to enhance the abilities you're currently using. The other cool thing is as you progress your character, so obviously I'm level 80, I'm max level, so I got all these utility abilities by leveling up my character and getting special skill points, but you unlock these different abilities and you can put them on the rest of your bar, and that's where you get these abilities from, and a lot of them will help buff however your main abilities work. And then we have down here we have a new system, which is the training system. So by leveling up and getting these different types of points and stuff, you can gain more passes or active abilities and unlock some elite specializations and get some very cool enhancements to the class after you've hit max level. And these are all different abilities that you have to work for and gain a different amount of hero points for, which I have one of, but you need 15 to get the next ability, and then you can put them on your bar and exchange them for these abilities. You can change the skills, and that's really cool. So that's basically sort of how the max level system works in the game. The other thing that they have is these masteries, which basically once you've gone through a certain number of quests or done a certain number of achievements or done a bunch of different things in the game, you're able to then unlock these different masteries. So for example, there's one that I find really cool from after you do a certain number of quests or chapters of quests in Heart of Thorns, you unlock gliders, which allow you to travel around the zone and move faster than if you were just walking on the ground. So that's basically the basics of Guild Wars. That the system for your character and your equipment is pretty much the same. You've got things where you can make gear look like other pieces of gear and all that. So obviously, what my gear looks like right now in the screen is not what it looks like actually in game. So without further ado, I'm going to start with this little cinematic that explains a little bit about some of the story that happens after the main story. I've beaten the main story up to this point, and basically what happens is you basically there's the whole premise of the game. There's a bunch of different elder dragons that are basically trying to destroy the world, and there's one of them specifically that you end up going and killing, and that's sort of all the way up to level 80. That entire story is about going and finding this dragon and his minions and figuring out like why he's corrupted and all this stuff, and finding a way to stop him. And you end up eventually killing him. But there are still many other Elder Dragons, and there are still other people who serve those Elder Dragons. So we're going to learn a little bit more about Scarlet's Wars. So we're going to watch this.
Scarlet Briar. Where should I begin? No one at first knew why she began her reign of terror. Some say she peered into the very fabric of the universe and went insane. Her attacks began in the northeast and spread like fire. She formed uneasy alliances and controlled her minions through deception and brutality. She leveraged their technology to scan for currents of magical energy called ley lines. Each attack had a purpose, allowing her to collect data from across Tyria that would later be used to assault Lion's Arch. When all hope seemed lost, the heroes of Tyria rose to the task, along with new allies. Bram Arison of Kragstead, Rox Whetstone, Gladium, Casimir Mead, Mesmer, Marjorie Delacroix, Investigator, and Taimi, Prodigy from Radasum. Led by the Pact Commander, they dismantled Scarlet's operations. But while they reclaimed the city at the Battle of Lion's Arch, they would later discover that she had completed her mission, even in death. Scarlet's machine struck the ley line deep beneath Sanctum Harbor, directing its magic far into the Maguma jungle, changing the course of history.
So basically, as I understand it, that Scarlet basically used the magical energies of the ley lines to reawaken one of the primal dragons, who is now our enemy in Heart of Thorns. So all those characters that you saw that you ended up, I guess, teaming up with during this time are all also going to be important in Heart of Thorns. They are going to be key characters in that. So, actually, I have not...
Marjorie Delacroix is a necromancer from Divinity's Reach. Until recently, she was a member of the Ministry Guard of Divinity's Reach, and was responsible for protecting various Crichton ministers and their staff. She quit that job after witnessing some terrible abuses of power. After she left the Guard, she went into business as an investigator for hire, taking on various cases that her clients needed handled, often with discretion. When Scarlet's Aetherblades assassinated Theo Ashford of the Captain's Council, Marjorie led the inquiry that led to the arrest of their leader, Captain Mai Trin. Trin later escaped her cell and fled to the Mists, shortly before Scarlet's attack on Lion's Arch. Miss Delacroix would later help destroy the Tower of Nightmares in Keswick's Hills, along with Lady Casimir Mead and the Pact Commander, who led the mission. Through her connections as a Dermot Priory member, she obtained evidence samples left behind by Scarlet's forces. The Pact Commander, with Marjorie's help and that of Casimir and Vorp, predicted the attack on Lion's Arch. Despite their warnings to the Captain's Council, the city fell, but it was later reclaimed.
So if you want more information about some of those characters, it looks like you can talk to her and she'll give you a nice little audio explanation of who they were. For our purposes, I'm going to probably skip that for the moment. So if we go back to my story log, I've actually, let's see, I think it's, yeah, Living Wars C2. So we're at this point. So I believe that I already did the first mission here, and I'm not sure I can go back and do it again. But basically what happened was we went to Camp Resolve, which I'll go back to because that's where my next quest is. Basically, it was completely assaulted by our enemies, which are basically mutant plant creatures of the primal plant, jungle dragon. And basically, we just barely survived the attack. We used an airstrike to clear the attack, and um, there's also something going on because there's some very important members of the story. There's a group that was the original group that fought against the other dragon, which we killed at the end of the main story. Um, and they are helping us obviously, fight these next sets of dragons. But there's also these new cast of characters that we just learned a little bit about in that cinematic that are going to be important to the story. And one of the members of the original group is apparently one of our actual your character's friends is actually gone off, and she's in search of some sort of egg. And I don't actually know what this egg is yet, but it keeps being mentioned. And I think the next quest we have is going to be about where she went and what's going on, and that this is all still happening before Heart of Thorns. So I just want to make sure we're going to the right area. But I believe that okay, yeah. So we're gonna go to the mystery cave is what it's called. But before that, I'm actually going to try to find a banker because I feel that my inventory is a little bit full, and it would be very, very helpful if I had more inventory space. So we're going to try to find a banker. So there we go. Here's a banker. And basically, I don't know right now. I guess I can tell you in a moment when I get back into the main part of the city. But as you saw in the cinematic, Lion's Watch was destroyed. It's been destroyed for quite a while, and just recently in Heart of Thorns, I think it was actually rebuilt. So last time I was here, anyways. So I'm not sure that was in beta a few months ago. So I'm not sure whether live game has the city rebuilt or not, because we shall find out in a moment. And there's all these kind of different waypoints that you can unlock as you go through the game, and that allows you to quickly travel between areas. There's not any mounts in this game, so the only ways to increase your travel speed are either to get special passives or to just teleport with waypoints, which is my favorite way to travel around as long as the loading screens actually work. It sometimes can be a little bit slow, so you just have to bear with the loading screens if you like this game. And it's a really great game to play if you do not want to pay a monthly subscription. So I would really recommend it. It's one of probably my top games that's just buy to play. So it's a lot of fun. It's also a lot of fun with friends. So later on, one of my team members on the YouTube channel, Wyvern Hunter, will be joining me for a few videos, and we're probably gonna level some new characters and go through some stuff. So we loaded it in, and it takes a minute for everything to load, so I'm just going to wait for a second and make sure everything loads. As you see, there's some guys moving around with nameplates, but they don't actually have any physical forms. So I'm just going to wait a second because I want to make sure that everything appears before we start moving too much. I think we're good. So actually the banker's over this way, I think. So yeah, they did repair all this. So this is all new. This is a giant octopus, I think, statue we're standing under. Or something along those lines. Banker.
I offer the best prices around.
Yay. Okay, so I'm just gonna throw a bunch of stuff that I don't need into my backpack. Is there a way to just put all my materials into here? Wardrobe, storage. But anyway, so yes, I'm just gonna try to put a lot of stuff in here that I don't need at the moment.
I dare you. Hit me.
May the stars guide you.
And if I remember correctly, there actually is a way from my inventory to just immediately put materials right into the crafting bank, which I probably should have done beforehand. Actually, is there?
More violence, I say. Less violence.
That's not what I want to do.
I have everything you need right here.
We have some open inventory space, so we should probably be okay.
May the stars guide you.
Just want to make sure. Okay. Alright, so now we're gonna head over to the the mystery cave is what they call it, and I believe that is all the way over. So you can see the map's actually quite large. Um, there's a lot of different areas. So we're gonna go into here, and we're gonna go to. It looks like I have to go to Camp Resolve because that's the closest place. So back to the Silver Waste. So the Silver Waste is basically it's the most important zone for the current expansion, Heart of Thorns. It's also where the pre-quests, I guess, is what I would call them, to the expansion come and are based in. So, as I said, one of the quests I'm doing here that's going to really explain why things are happening in the first mission in Heart of Thorns will be explained sort of in these quest lines that I'm currently going through. And it looks like there's a lot more things like hero challenges and other stuff in this zone that I have obviously not done yet. So I'm just going to try to travel all the way through this mess, and I'm going to... It looks like there's a lot of enemies around that zone, so we're just going to try to move as quickly as we can. And we're not going to do these events, I think. If there's a way around. You may have to climb a cliff. But anyway, so there's also these things you can discover at different places and you can get some experience. Experience now gives you hero points if you're max level. So you're no longer actually getting levels, you're just going to get stuff that allows you to progress your character in other ways using those traits and stuff and the mastery stuff that I had pointed out before. So it looks like there's an event here of some sort, and I'm just going to try to get through this as fast as possible. These are all the different types of enemies that are around here, and we're just going to try to run as fast as possible through all this because I do not want to get caught up in a huge battle right now. But we'll be back here later because this is going to be important for some scenarios of the story that we're going to have to go through. So we'll eventually get to the point where we're actually doing stuff here. But as you can see, it's all sort of corrupted and has a bunch of giant thorns around the area, so yeah, I guess it makes sense. Heart of Thorns. Some of these are actually not enemies. Some of these are just for the zone's textures and terrain, but there are a lot of enemies that will attack us and are very, very bad. So it looks like we're almost there. What is this? Touch the pillar. Oh boy. So we're gonna fight this thing and it will give me another skill point, it looks like. And I'm actually gonna switch weapons for this, and I'm gonna use some AoEs. And let's just hope we're not getting attacked by too many things, but you can see that the abilities are completely different now that I'm using a different weapon. So the staff is a lot more caster related, whereas the sword is more like sort of lightning. And I'm just going to use an AoE. And I hope this guy's about dead. And we just got a new hero point, it looks like. I don't know how many hero points that actually gave me. But let's see very quickly. Let's just see if you go into actually it's training. So actually just gave me 1, and unfortunately I need 15 more to upgrade. So it's not really that helpful, but they add up in the end. So you can see that the zones sort of change as you go through them, and again, there's a lot of walking and there's a lot of events, but you can see how there's a new event here and there's an event back. There's all these moving stuff on the map, so there's always something to be doing, and there's a lot of different rewards that are given to you. Okay, so this is the mystery cave. So I'm actually going to probably stop there for this video, and I will do each individual quest line because they're actually pretty decently long in a separate video. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I will see you all next time.